It's so foundational to my filmmaking consciousness, you know. In the 80s when I was getting into cinema, I just, you know, saw the films, but it was more the idea of the cinephile, you know, that you could be a writer, just someone who dedicated their lives to film, who wanted to be filmmakers. I thought of myself that way. I started a film society, I showed movies, but I always thought of myself as a future director. I was writing and editing shorts and making super low budget features, and I don't know, just the lifestyle. But I don't know, just people who dedicate their life to cinema. So I took a lot of inspiration from that, the idea, just the freedom of the new wave, the personal nature of the films, everything about it was inspiring. I just love those films. So about 13 years ago, some colleagues of mine and I started talking about this film. It was that long ago. So I got to think about it for a long time before we finally got to make it. I got this perfect cast, and yeah, it's kind of a miracle, you know. This film is kind of out of like a dream, a film dream consciousness. It came, you know.
But how bold! You say you don't speak French, and I'm just in admiration of you know, don't speak French, and then doing such a French iconic project. What were some of the ways you kind of got around not speaking French?
You know, that was in the list of problems or things to be concerned about on making a film. That was in somewhere between 20 and 30. You know, it was really low. I mean, that makes no sense, but I knew if I had the right cast, we all communicated. I did exactly what I did every film I've ever made. We rehearsed a lot, we talked, we really got to know each other. We just communicate really well, and they really bonded, and everything was great. It was the only point that I needed some backup, I felt, was when we're actually shooting. I know what they're saying, but Cammie, my script supervisor, Michelle, my producer, and then ultimately Catherine, the editor I'm working with, and the cast themselves, like, was that your best take? It's like, oh, I fumbled that word. It's like, so I didn't know, you know, it's like, okay, we were dialing that in, so I could use some advice on the difference between a take, maybe, but I knew it was good. I saw these guys, you know. So it sounds a little weird, but it's a visual medium. It really was not a concern of mine. It was just how the film should look and sound, you know.
Zoey, oh my goodness, I am in awe of what you did here. It's just, the word iconic is obviously very overused, but for Jean, it is absolutely true.
She's very iconic.
I wanted that New York Tribune T-shirt since
too.
I was a little girl.
Yeah, right?
That's how important she is to, I think, all women everywhere, and not just women. But can you talk a little bit about how you got in the space to play Jean, what sort of materials you looked at? I'm kind of curious, did you watch Seberg with Kristen Stewart?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so tell me about building the picture.
Well, I'm playing it's a moment in time, right? I'm playing a very specific moment in Seberg's life, which was right after her second movie she ever made, Bonjour Tristesse, and she's feeling her first film, Saint Joan, was traumatizing. The press destroyed her. She was so young. She had no experience. And then she went on to work with the same director who's rigid and strict and very intense. And then she goes to France and films this movie where his entire process and methodology is completely different. And she's scared and skeptical and insecure. She said it herself, not only with the language barrier. She had just started learning French a year before. She wasn't feeling confident necessarily in that language, and then to be doing all this improv and have no ability to rehearse or practice, it was scary for her. So I was playing a very specific moment in time for her, and that was important for me to not read the last page before, we're at an early point in her career, and she wasn't the icon yet that we know her to be, right? This movie changed the trajectory of her life in an extraordinary way, And while she was still finding her footing in America, she was really embraced here. And that's why she stayed. She loved it. So it was a real honor to get to play her. I'm obsessed with her. I love her. And yeah, we visited her grave a few times and tried to pay our respects. And there was a wild story where we were shooting.
She rescued us.
Yeah, she did. Honestly, I know it sounds silly, but we were shooting the scene where, the final scene of the movie of Breathless, and it was pouring rain, and it said it was going to pour rain all day, and we were outside. We had no cover set, and her grave, the cemetery, was a block away. So we walked over at lunch. Rick and I walked over, and Gigi. And
we got umbrellas.
We walked over and we just sort of. I said a little prayer, and I had built a relationship with this. I know that sounds weird, but her grave, and I had brought her things. And the second we all surrounded it, the sun came out, despite what the weather reported.
Here's the thing. It was raining, and as we approached, listen, it stopped raining.
Okay.
And then when Zoey got there, the sun came out.
But
I'm not kidding.
It was such a, if you believe in that sort of thing or not, it felt hard not to. It was kind of wild, and we all looked at each other like, okay. And then the sun stayed out,
and
we were able to finish
the
the day. And we didn't have the time or money to reshoot that. So. Thank you, Gene.
I don't believe in any of that. I don't believe any of that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's what happened.
That's what he kept saying. He was like, I'm not into all that stuff.
But that's what happened.
Yeah. He's like, the fact is a fact.
So if you have to embody Godard, you have to work on the voice, because it's very important, okay? And have weird citations about citations and about life, and turn everything upside down just to make you think the word is not working the way you think it is. And that's it. But other than that, it's reading books, reading biographies, seeing in every interviews you can find out there, and try little bit by little bricks to build your character and understand like the logical of this guy. Because he's very singular, and once you get it, then you can respond to anything in Godard.
I think we did a lot of hurly-gurly in the room, so it helps. And no, I think we just went in the room and just in the idea of having fun and honor this scene, this magical scene of the movie. So just trying to do the same thing as in the movie. And the set was exactly as the movie. It was amazing. Yeah.
We had so much fun.
Yeah.
You can't imagine. We went on vacation and there was a movie at the end.